Full text core rule explanation. This is an original modern urban romance cool text integrating substitute plot, cheating betrayal, female independent growth, and Juichi Huazangchang regret flow. It adopts first-person female lead immersive narration plus third-person unbiased objective character commentary. Centering on the single ultimate villain Liana Carter's 2-year white moonlight premeditated suppression and the male lead Ferris, Kane's intentional substitute emotional deception and cheating betrayal, it launches a 40-second layered truth burst mechanism. It progressively exposes the hidden substitute identity deception, white moonlight frame-up, career resource plundering, and upper circle reputation smearing, completes the full collapse of the villain's perfect persona, thorough reversal of public opinion, male lead's extreme ash-burning regret, and female lead's career counterattack and class transcendence. The full text strictly implements the 50% ultra-high-energy climax proportion. All cool points and plots are 100% original and non-repeating, completely different from the previous friendship betrayal healing text, focusing on female emotional awakening and career growth, with compact rhythm and strong catharsis. Prologue. 2 years of substitute affection. All my tenderness was borrowed illusion. Female lead first-person narration. The cold neon light of the city's financial center penetrated the floor-to-ceiling glass, falling on the empty luxury apartment that I had lived in for 2 years. The room was filled with a faint cold fragrance that Ferris Kane liked, a smell that I'd accommodated and adapted to for 2 full years, but tonight, it only made me feel chilly to the bone. I'm Mila Jane, an ordinary independent designer who once foolishly buried all my tenderness, sincerity, and youth in a false 2-year relationship. For 2 years, I thought I was in a pure and affectionate love with the city's top wealthy tycoon Ferris Kane. I thought his occasional tenderness, his habitual companionship, and his subtle preference were unique favor for me. I was wrong, completely wrong. All the tenderness I enjoyed was never mine exclusively. All the preferences I cherished were just because I had a 7-point similar appearance to his white moonlight Liana Carter. I was just a carefully selected substitute, a temporary spiritual comfort tool for him to fill the emptiness after Liana left. Ferris is the top controller of the city's financial empire, arrogant, cold, superior, and used to controlling everything. In these 2 years, he was gentle to me, would celebrate trivial festivals with me, would remember my favorite food, and would stay with me on every lonely night. I naively thought that sincerity could melt indifference, that dedication could exchange for true love, and that I could finally warm his cold heart and replace the so-called white moonlight in his heart. I accommodated all his habits, tolerated his occasional indifference, gave up my independent studio development opportunities, and stayed by his side humbly and cautiously. I smoothed my edges and corners for him, learned to be gentle and sensible, and even try to get close to the upper circle that I was never familiar with, just to be worthy of him. I have always heard people mention Liana Carter, the white moonlight in Ferris's heart, the perfect goddess praised by the entire upper social circle. Everyone said she was gentle, pure, talented, and fragile, the only unreplaceable existence in Ferris's life. I never envied or resented. I just told myself that the past was the past, and I would be his future. I even felt sorry for Ferris, who had been trapped in the memories of his first love for many years. I wanted to use my long-term companionship and sincerity to pull him out of the past and let him see me who was always by his side. But the truth is far more cruel than I imagined. This is not a story of late affection and warming cold heart. It is a 2-year deliberate deception, a well-planned emotional scam. Ferris never forgot Liana for a second in these 2 years. He stayed with me, was gentle to me, and tolerated me, all because my eyebrows and eyes were similar to Liana. Every time he looked at me gently, his eyes were actually looking at the shadow of another person through me. Every word of tenderness he said to me was originally meant for Liana. What's more ridiculous and cruel is that Liana never left. She has been watching our relationship silently in the dark, using her white moonlight aura to control Ferris's emotions, secretly suppressing my development, smearing my reputation, and watching me struggle in the humble substitute identity like a clown. Half a month ago, Liana returned to the city high-profilely. The moment she appeared, all my 2-year dedication and persistence became a joke. Ferris's tenderness disappeared overnight. He began to be cold and indifferent to me, frequently contacted Liana, and even publicly accompanied Liana to attend various upper-class banquets. All the preferences that belonged to me in the past were instantly transferred to Liana. I finally woke up from the illusion. I took the initiative to ask Ferris, wanting an answer for 2 years of dedication. But he only looked at me with indifferent and arrogant eyes and said the most heartless words in the world. Mila, you should know your identity. You are just a substitute I keep by my side. Now the right person is back. You should leave consciously. At that moment, the entire world in my heart collapsed completely. 2 years of sincere dedication, 2 years of humble accommodation, 2 years of careful management. In his eyes, it was just a dispensable substitute transaction. No affection, no sincerity, only use and perfunctory. What's more vicious is that after Liana's return, she took the initiative to find me, pretending to be gentle and kind, persuading me to take the initiative to leave, while secretly spreading rumors in the upper circle, saying that I was greedy for wealth and power, clinging to Ferris shamelessly, pestering others' feelings, and framing me for stealing her design works and career resources. Ferris knew all Liana's framing and rumors, but he chose to acquiesce. He even took the initiative to cut off my industry cooperation resources for Liana, completely destroying my career development that I'd worked hard for many years, just to please his white moonlight. The double betrayal of emotional deception and career destruction made me fall into the bottom of my life overnight. The whole upper circle ridiculed me as a ridiculous substitute, a greedy and vain woman who was abandoned after being used. I suffered from public opinion humiliation, career stagnation, and emotional collapse at the same time. In the most painful half-month, I did not collapse and decadent. I cried all night, then sorted out all my emotions, calmed down completely, and began to sort out all the hidden truths and evidence of the 2-year deception. I used to grieve for the lost love, but now I only feel lucky for waking up in time. A love that is based on deception and substitution is not worthy of my slightest nostalgia. Tonight, the city's top financial summit is held grandly, gathering all the city's financial elites and upper-class celebrities. Ferris will attend as the core guest, and Liana will accompany him as his rumored girlfriend, accepting the praise and blessings of the whole circle. They think I will be decadent and shrinking, crying and begging for forgiveness, or disappearing silently in humiliation. They think I am just a weak substitute who can only be slaughtered passively. But they don't know that I've sorted out all the ironclad evidence of 2-year substitute deception, intentional cheating, white moonlight frame-up, and resource plundering. The 40-second layered truth burst mechanism is officially activated. I will expose all their hypocrisy and conspiracy in front of the entire upper class, completely crush Liana's perfect white moonlight persona, let Ferris bear the endless regret of losing his true love, clear all my humiliating reputations, and start my thorough counterattack and life rebirth. I, Mila Jane, and never anyone's substitute, am why tenderness is precious, my sincerity is noble, and my life will never be a foil for others' love. From today on, I will break the substitute fate, counterattack the scum and villain, and live a brilliant life that belongs only to me. Objective third-party commentary. The prologue builds a high-quality modern romance substitute awakening framework, completely jumping out of the homogeneous, silly, sweet substitute story routine. It takes 2-year long-term intentional emotional deception, white moonlight hidden suppression, and double betrayal of emotion and career as the entry point, forming a strong emotional contrast between false tenderness and cruel truth, with extremely strong realistic pain and awakening power. The female lead's character setting is 3-dimensional and advanced. She is affectionate and dedicated, but has firm bottom lines. After experiencing 2 years of wrong love and cruel betrayal, she does not fall into hysterical resentment or humble entanglement, but chooses calm sorting and rational counterattack. Her emotional maturity and tough personality are far superior to ordinary weak female leads in romance novels, and the independent growth core is prominent. The single ultimate villain's human nature is profoundly shaped. Liana is not a simple jealous rival, but a scheming white moonlight who hides deeply. She maintains a perfect and pure external image, but secretly suppresses, frames, and plunders for a long time. Her combination of superficial gentleness and inner viciousness creates a strong sense of persona contrast, and the villain's deterrent power is sufficient. The male lead scum attribute and later regret foundation are firmly laid. Ferris's harm is not accidental coldness, but long-term intentional deception and emotional use. He treats sincere affection as a substitute transaction, acquiesces in the villain's frame-up, and sacrifices the female lead's career and reputation for his white moonlight. All his behaviors are rooted in arrogance and selfishness, laying a solid logical foundation for the subsequent extreme ash-burning regret. The 40-second layered truth burst mechanism is launched, opening the compact high-energy climax rhythm of progressive truth exposure, persona collapse, and counterattack reversal. The female lead's attitude of no nostalgia, no compromise, self-reliance, and self-improvement establishes the advanced core tone of female growth, making the story completely different from ordinary homogeneous substitute romance texts. Chapter 1 First 40-second truth burst. 2-year intentional substitute deception fully exposed. 50% super, high-energy climax officially launched. The magnificent top-level financial summit venue is resplendent and luxurious. Crystal chandeliers hang all over the dome, shining on the well-dressed upper-class celebrities and industry elites. Soft, elegant music flows in the venue, and all guests are talking and laughing politely, presenting a prosperous and glamorous upper-class scene. The core spotlight of the venue has always focused on the most dazzling pair in the audience, Ferris Kane and Liana Carter. Ferris wears a custom black high-end suit with a tall and straight figure, cold and profound facial features, and a natural superior aura of a financial controller. He stands in the center of the crowd, calmly accepting the flattery and respect of all industry elites. Beside him, Liana leans gently on his side, wearing a white haute couture dress with long soft hair, fair skin, and delicate facial features. She smiles gently and politely with a pure and fragile temperament, perfectly interpreting the image of a gentle and talented white moonlight goddess in the upper circle. The surrounding guests are whispering and praising, all thinking that they are a perfect match made in heaven. Ferris finally waited for his white moonlight to come back. After so many years of waiting, it's really touching. Liana is really gentle and perfect. No wonder Ferris has never forgotten her for so many years. Those so-called girlfriends in the past are just foils. That Mila Jane is really overestimating herself. She dares to covet Ferris's feelings and pester him for 2 years. She's just a substitute who looks like Liana, and she's shameless for clinging to wealth. I heard that she was still stealing other people's design resources and secretly learning Liana's style. No wonder she was abandoned. She has no bottom line at all. All public opinions in the venue are biased towards Liana and Ferris. All the faults and humiliating labels are firmly buckled on me. In the eyes of everyone present, I am just a greedy, vain, and shameless substitute who is not worthy of sympathy. I stood quietly at the entrance of the venue, wearing a minimalist black custom dress with neat and capable makeup, calm and indifferent eyes, and no trace of grievance, anger, or decadence on my face. After half a month of silent sorting and emotional precipitation, I have completely walked out of the pain of betrayal and wrong love. Today, I don't come to make trouble, don't come to cry and complain, don't come to pester and reconcile. I only come to uncover all the lies, clear all the humiliations, and let all the hypocritical people pay the price for their deception and frame up. 40 seconds after the climax mechanism was officially activated, the first core heavy truth that overturned the cognition of the entire upper circle exploded with ironclad evidence, officially kicking off the full-scale high-energy climax of substitute truth exposure, scum and villain face-slapping, and public opinion reversal. First core truth. Ferris Kane's 2-year intimate relationship and tenderness to Mila Jane are all intentional substitute deception. He clearly distinguishes Mila from Liana, but deliberately uses Mila's similar appearance and sincere affection to fill the emotional vacancy after Liana's departure. All tenderness is deliberate performance, and all companionship is emotional use. 2 years ago, Liana chose to go abroad for further study and design, and deliberately cut off all contact with Ferris, leaving Ferris in a state of emotional emptiness and trauma. At that time, Ferris accidentally met me, who had 7-point similar facial features and gentle temperament to Liana. He did not have a trace of true love for me from beginning to end. The reason why he took the initiative to pursue me, treat me gently, and maintain a 2-year intimate relationship was only because I was the most suitable substitute for his white moonlight. All the so-called preferences and tenderness are carefully designed performances. He will ask me to keep the same long hairstyle as Liana, ask me to learn Liana's gentle speaking tone, and even deliberately let me take the same design elective courses as Liana, forcing me to infinitely approach Liana's image. Every time he hugged me, he would whisper Liana's name unconsciously in his sleep. Every time he praised my design works, he would add the sentence, "It's more and more like Liana's style." All my unique characteristics were ignored by him, and I was only valuable because I was similar to others. He has always been sober and clear-headed. He knows that I am an independent individual with my own thoughts and talents, but he still deliberately binds me with false affection, consumes my sincerity and youth, and treats my precious feelings as a tool to heal his unrequited love trauma. This is never a simple unrequited love or emotional mismatch, but a 2-year long-term, deliberate, cold-blooded emotional deception and spiritual trampling. Matched ironclad evidence. 2-year daily chat record screenshots of Ferris mentioning Liana in intimate communication, sleeping voice recording of Ferris calling Liana's name, chat records of Ferris telling his subordinates that Mila is just a temporary substitute, 2-year dressing and behavioral restriction records for Mila. The audience's shock exploded completely. The entire summit venue was in an uproar. All the elites and celebrities who were praising Ferris's infatuation and Liana's perfection just now were completely stunned on the spot. No one expected that the touching 2-year intimate relationship was a deliberate substitute scam. No one expected that the cold and infatuated wealthy tycoon was actually a selfish, emotional liar who consumed sincere love. The first high-energy reversal of the full text breaks out thoroughly. The smile on Ferris's cold face froze instantly. His deep eyes stared at the huge evidence screen in the center of the venue, and his pupils contracted violently. He never thought that I would preserve all the subtle evidence of his 2-year deception, and never thought that I would expose his most private and selfish, emotional true face in front of the entire upper circle. Liana's gentle and pure expression also collapsed in an instant. Her fingers tightened violently, and her eyes flashed with uncontrollable panic and jealousy. She had always thought that all the substitute deception was unknown to outsiders, and that she could always maintain her perfect white moonlight aura. Facing the noisy and shocked discussion voices around, Liana quickly adjusted her state, forced back the panic in her heart, and restarted her superb White Lotus acting skills. She gently pulled Ferris's sleeve. Her eyes turned red instantly, and her voice was soft and aggrieved. Ferris, I didn't know this would happen. I never thought Mila would misunderstand like this. I have no intention of disturbing a relationship, and I never want anyone to be wronged because of me. Everyone, don't get me wrong. It's all my fault for leaving too early. Her aggrieved and weak appearance quickly aroused the tentative pity of some guests. Many people began to hesitate again, suspecting that this was just an emotional misunderstanding after the breakup, and that I was deliberately making trouble and slandering out of resentment. Ferris also quickly recovered from the shock. He frowned slightly, looked at me with cold and displeased eyes, and his tone was arrogant and blaming. Mila, enough. It's just an emotional, trivial matter between us. There's no need to make a fool of yourself in public and slander me and Liana. Leave immediately. Don't lose your dignity. He still maintains his superior attitude, treats all the 2-year deception as a trivial emotional farce, and thinks that I am deliberately making trouble out of jealousy and resentment. He still has no slightest guilt or repentance. I stood quietly on the spot, my expression cold and calm, without the slightest emotional fluctuation. I had long expected their sophistry and pretense. The first truth is just the beginning of the counterattack. The real core conspiracy and vicious harm have not been completely exposed. I looked at them faintly, my tone clear and powerful, penetrating all false pretense and hypocritical disguise. Emotional trivial matter. 2 years of deliberate deception. 2 years of sincere consumption. 2 years of identity trampling. In your eyes, it's just a trivial matter? Ferris, Liana, the truth has just begun to surface. All your hypocrisy and conspiracy will be completely exposed tonight. Objective third-party commentary. This chapter officially kicks off the full-scale, ultra-high-energy climax of the story. The first 40-second truth burst directly pierces the core lie of the male lead's 2-year substitute deception, completely overturning the public's cognition of infatuated male lead and perfect white moonlight, and detonating the core conflict of deliberate emotional deception plus substitute identity trampling plus public misunderstanding and humiliation. The plot adopts a rigorous 2-year timeline progressive rhythm, starting from the root core of emotional betrayal, with complete and detailed evidence chain and real and credible details, with extremely strong logical persuasion and shocking reversal power. It completely breaks the routine of ordinary substitute romances' ambiguous emotional misunderstanding, and accurately shapes the male lead's selfish and cold-blooded emotional liar attribute. The female lead's high-level coolness and growth charm are fully highlighted. Facing public doubt, villains acting sophistry, and male lead's arrogant blame, she does not lose her temper or defend hysterically, maintains absolute rationality and calmness, firmly controls the rhythm of truth exposure and counterattack, and her inner toughness and pattern are far beyond ordinary romance female leads. The core villain's hypocritical nature is initially stripped. Liana's weak and aggrieved pretense fully exposes her superb scheming and acting skills. She tries to use her white moonlight aura to whitewash the conspiracy and shift the responsibility, and her selfish and vicious human nature is initially revealed. The male lead's later ash-burning regret foundation is deeply consolidated. Ferris's current arrogance, blame, and no repentance form a sharp contrast with his later frantic regret and humble begging, laying a solid foundation for the extreme catharsis of the Duiqi Owa plot. Chapter 2 second and third 40-second truth bursts. White moonlight frame-up reputation smearing and career resource plundering exposure. Continuous super high-energy climax. Liana's aggrieved pretense and Ferris's arrogant blame made the on-site public opinion fall into a short stalemate again. Many guests who did not know the truth looked at me with doubtful and strange eyes, and the old labels of jealous, unreasonable, pestering, and making trouble were quietly attached again. Ferris saw the hesitant public opinion, and his attitude became more cold and tough. He thought that I was just venting my anger out of breakup resentment, and that I had no real evidence to prove anything. He even prepared to let the security personnel drive me out of the venue to save his and Liana's face. Faced with the dual pressure of public opinion and power, I did not flinch or panic at all. I knew that the emotional deception was only the superficial harm, and the villain's long-term hidden frame-up and career destruction were the most vicious and unforgivable crimes. 40 seconds after the first truth burst, the second core, heavy truth exploded instantly, completely exposing Liana's long-term hidden frame-up and full-circle reputation smearing conspiracy, and completely clearing all false, humiliating labels on me. Second core truth. Liana Carter has long-term secretly smeared Mila Jane's reputation in the upper social circle for 2 years, deliberately fabricating false rumors such as Mila is greedy for wealth, clings to Ferris, steals design works, and has bad conduct, guiding the whole circle's public opinion to humiliate and discredit Mila, in order to maintain her perfect white moonlight aura and suppress Mila's social reputation. In the 2 years when Liana was abroad, she never stopped monitoring the relationship between Ferris and me. She was extremely jealous that I could stay by Ferris's side for a long time and enjoy his tenderness and companionship, even if she knew I was just a substitute. In order to prevent me from gaining a firm position in the upper circle and prevent Ferris from having real affection for me after long-term companionship, she took the initiative to contact the upper circle's celebrity friends and industry partners and continuously spread all kinds of false and malicious rumors about me in private. She fabricated that I deliberately approached Ferris for money and status, that I was shamelessly clinging to the wealthy circle, that I had no independent ability and could only rely on men, and even maliciously spread that I had repeatedly stolen other designers' works and plagiarized creative ideas, with extremely poor professional ethics and personal conduct. She deliberately packaged herself as an infatuated and innocent white moonlight who was forced to leave, and portrayed me as a greedy and vain villain who covets others' feelings and status. For 2 years, she has continuously exported negative public opinion, making all upper-class people misunderstand and ridicule me, and letting me bear endless reputation humiliation for no reason. After she returned to China, she intensified her efforts to smear me. She took the opportunity of the breakup to spread a large number of one-sided remarks, completely distorting the truth of the relationship breakdown, making me the only wrong party in the relationship, and completely whitewashing herself and Ferris. Matched ironclad evidence. 2-year private rumor-spreading chat records of upper circle celebrities. Voice recording of Liana maliciously discrediting Mila. Timeline closed-loop record of public opinion guidance. Witness testimony of many industry insiders. The on-site audience was completely shocked. Everyone never expected that the pure and gentle white moonlight goddess in their eyes would be so vicious and narrow-minded in private. She spent 2 years deliberately smearing and humiliating an innocent girl just to satisfy her own jealousy and maintain her aura. Liana's face turned completely pale in an instant, and her weak and aggrieved smile completely collapsed. Her body began to tremble uncontrollably, and she could no longer maintain her perfect white moonlight posture. The panic in her eyes was completely exposed to everyone. Ferris's arrogant and cold attitude also froze thoroughly. He stared at the overwhelming ironclad evidence on the screen, and his heart began to shake violently. He had always believed Liana's one-sided words, thought that all the public opinions about me were true, and always felt that I was vain and greedy. But at this moment, he finally knew that all the misunderstandings were deliberately created by Liana. I did not stop the counterattack rhythm. 40 seconds later, the third core truth burst out as scheduled, completely exposing Liana and Ferris's joint career resource plundering conspiracy, fixing their crime of destroying my lifelong career. Third core truth. After returning to China, Liana Carter deliberately targeted Mila Jane's design career, secretly contacted Mila's long-term cooperative clients and industry partners, discredited Mila's professional ability, maliciously intercepted core design resources and high-end projects, and forced Ferris to use capital power to cut off Mila's industry development channels, completely destroying Mila's years of hard-working career foundation. I have been engaged in independent design work for many years, with outstanding talent and rigorous professional attitude. Before meeting Ferris, I had accumulated a stable client group and industry reputation, and my studio was developing steadily. After being with Ferris, I gave up the opportunity of foreign further study and large-scale studio expansion for him, and focused more on emotional management, but I never stopped my career efforts. But after Liana returned to China, because she was jealous of my design talent and afraid that I would gain industry reputation and completely get rid of the substitute identity, she launched a comprehensive suppression of my career. She used her white moonlight aura and industry connections to privately contact all my core clients, fabricate false bad reviews of my design works, slander my unprofessional attitude, and maliciously poach my long-term cooperative partners and high-quality projects. What's more cruel is that she took advantage of Ferris's guilt and preference for her to coerce him into using the financial group's capital power to suppress my small independent studio, force all cooperative platforms to terminate cooperation with me, block all my industry exhibition channels, and completely cut off all my career development paths. Ferris clearly knew that my career was my lifelong hard work and spiritual pillar, but he still chose to indulge Liana's vicious suppression, and even took the initiative to participate in the resource plundering, sacrificing my lifelong career to please his white moonlight. This is no longer a simple emotional dispute, but a deliberate malicious destruction of others' life and future by relying on status and power. Matched ironclad evidence, client poaching chat records and call recordings, platform cooperation termination notice documents, Ferris Group's internal suppression order records, project interception contract comparison documents. The on-site public opinion completely boiled over. All the industry elites present were extremely angry. They finally saw the true face of the perfect white moonlight, narrow-minded, vicious, and jealous, using all means to suppress rivals. They also saw the male lead selfishness and cold-bloodedness, abandoning sincerity and sacrificing others' careers for false love. The public opinion that had been biased towards them completely reversed in an instant. All the guests looked at Liana with disdain and disgust, and looked at Ferris with disappointment and criticism. Facing the completely collapsed situation, Liana could no longer pretend to be wronged. She cried hoarsely, trying to grab Ferris's arm for help, but Ferris subconsciously avoided her touch. Ferris's tall body trembled slightly. His cold eyes were full of shock, confusion, and unprecedented self-blame. He finally realized how excessive and cruel what he had done was. He misunderstood and wronged the sincere girl who had accompanied him for 2 years and destroyed her lifelong career for a vicious and scheming woman. I looked at their embarrassed and collapsed appearances, and my heart was completely calm without any hatred or anger. I used to care about this relationship, care about his tenderness, care about the misunderstandings of the world. But after seeing all the truth clearly, I only feel indifferent. A man who treats sincerity as a toy, a woman who hurts others for jealousy, are not worthy of any of my emotions. I glanced at them coldly, my tone firm and decisive, without any nostalgia. Liana, you have spent 2 years smearing my reputation and destroying my career out of jealousy. Your perfect white moonlight persona is completely broken tonight, and you will bear the consequences of your vicious behavior forever. Ferris, you have deceived my feelings for 2 years, acquiesced in others' harm to me, and personally destroyed my career. Your selfishness and coldness have ruined all my sincerity. From this second on, we are completely strangers. No past, no future, no possibility of any redemption. Objective third-party commentary. This chapter continues the ultra-dense 40-second truth burst rhythm, realizing the layered escalation of villains' crimes from hidden reputation smearing to explicit career destruction, and the male lead's crimes from passive misunderstanding to active participation in harm, completely restoring the whole picture of 2-year hidden betrayal and malicious suppression, and the plot tension and emotional catharsis reach a new peak. The story completely breaks the routine of traditional substitute romance, where the female lead only competes for love. It takes career destruction and reputation trampling as the core breakthrough point, elevates the story's pattern from simple emotional dispute to female self-respect and career dignity defense, and the theme of female independent growth is more prominent. The core villain's vicious human nature is completely stereotyped. Liana's harm is long-term, purposeful, and all-round. She suppresses the female lead's reputation, emotion, and career at the same time, with extremely distorted psychology and zero bottom line of behavior, and her collapse is entirely self-inflicted. The male lead's ash-burning regret value explodes in an all-round way. Ferris goes from simple emotional deception to active participation in career destruction. His every choice is a deliberate betrayal of sincerity, which makes his later regret and self-blame more thorough and irreparable, laying the strongest foundation for the Dalichi Wuzongcheng plot. The female lead's spiritual awakening is completely completed. She no longer dwells on emotional gains and losses and begins to defend her career and dignity. Her cognition completely breaks away from the bondage of love, and her independent personality and tough stance are fully established. Chapter 3, 4th, 12th, continuous 40-second truth bursts, full 2-year conspiracy chain coverage, and complete truth restoration. Ultimate super climax. My decisive stranger declaration completely panicked Ferris and Liana. Liana collapsed and cried on the spot, completely losing her gentle white moonlight demeanor. She kept explaining and sophistering, trying to restore her broken reputation, but no one in the audience was willing to believe her words anymore. Ferris was even more flustered to the extreme. The arrogance and coldness of the financial tycoon completely disappeared. He stared at me with red eyes, and the endless self-blame and regret in his heart flooded his whole body like a tide. He never knew that his 2 years of intentional deception and connivance had brought me such huge emotional trauma and career destruction. He never knew that the humble substitute in his eyes had endured so many hidden grievances and malicious suppressions silently. He stepped forward quickly, regardless of the eyes of the entire upper circle, reached out to grab my wrist, his voice hoarse and trembling, full of unprecedented panic and humble begging. Mila, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was blind and selfish. I didn't see the truth. I misunderstood you. I hurt you. Give me a chance to make up for you, okay? I will restore all your career resources. I will clear all your reputation misunderstandings. I will treat you well for a lifetime. Don't leave me. His elite dignity, superior status, and arrogant pride were completely crushed at this moment. The cold and powerful financial controller put down all his posture and begged humbly in front of the whole audience, just hoping to get a chance of forgiveness. But his belated apology and repentance were extremely ridiculous and disgusting to me. When I was wronged and slandered, he chose to acquiesce. When my career was destroyed, he chose to participate. When I endured loneliness and grievance silently for 2 years, he was enjoying the false comfort brought by my substitute identity. There is no chance for redemption for deliberate harm. I gently and firmly broke away from his hand, my eyes cold and distant, without the slightest emotional fluctuation, completely cutting off all his illusions. The 40-second layered truth burst mechanism continued to operate uninterruptedly. 9 consecutive core, heavy truths exploded one after another, completely covering all hidden crimes of the 2-year conspiracy, including emotional manipulation, design plagiarism framing, public identity humiliation, post-breakup malicious suppression, white moonlight fake perfection, male leads cheating behavior, etc. With zero omission of all hidden harms. 40 seconds after the third truth burst, the fourth core truth exploded. Fourth core truth. Ferris Kane carries out long-term emotional manipulation on Mila Jane for 2 years, uses Mila's sincere affection to control her life and behavior, restricts her social contact and career development, and makes Mila completely dependent on him in order to firmly fix Mila in the substitute position. In order to let me always be his obedient substitute, Ferris has long-term implemented emotional control and behavioral restriction on me in the past 2 years. He would deliberately suppress my social circle, prevent me from contacting excellent opposite-sex friends and industry partners, and isolate my independent interpersonal relationships. He would deliberately belittle my career achievements, make me fall into self-doubt, and rely on his material support and emotional companionship. He clearly knew my design talent, but repeatedly denied my ability, just to prevent me from being too excellent and breaking away from his control. All his so-called tenderness and preference are based on my absolute obedience and substitute identity. Once I have the tendency of independence and breakthrough, he will immediately turn cold and suppress me, implementing strict emotional PUA and behavioral control. Matched ironclad evidence, long-term emotional control chat records, social contact restriction records, career achievement denial screenshots, daily behavioral restriction videos. 40 seconds later, the fifth core truth burst out. Fifth core truth. Liana Carter secretly plagiarized Mila Jane's core design concepts many times, modified Mila's original works and signed them under her own name, and took the opportunity to win industry awards, and framed Mila for plagiarism in turn to cover up her own theft behavior. Liana's so-called design talent and industry reputation are not entirely her own. She has long been jealous of my original design talent. In the past 2 years, she has repeatedly stolen my unpublished design drafts and core creative concepts through remote means. She modified the details of my original work slightly, participated in international design competitions in her own name, and won many high-value industry awards, relying on my creativity to gain the reputation of a talented designer. In order to prevent me from exposing her theft, she took the lead in spreading plagiarism rumors after returning to China, framing me for stealing her works, completely reversing black and white, and covering up her own criminal behavior. Matched ironclad evidence, original draft timestamp files, modified contrast works, award-winning work source tracking records, remote theft background data. 40 seconds later, the sixth core truth burst out. Sixth core truth. Ferris Kane had many ambiguous cheating behaviors during the 2-year relationship with Mila Jane, kept in close contact with Liana in private for a long time, and had intimate interactions during the relationship, belonging to deliberate emotional betrayal and cheating. Ferris never cut off contact with Liana during our 2-year relationship. He would take the initiative to report his daily status to Liana, send intimate greetings, and secretly meet with Liana abroad many times. Every time he was gentle and affectionate to me, he would turn around and report to Liana, explaining that he was just perfunctory the substitute, and expressing his eternal infatuation and loyalty to Liana. All his tenderness to me was a double betrayal of me and a perfunctory comfort to Liana. Matched ironclad evidence, long-term private ambiguous chat records between Ferris and Liana, overseas meeting surveillance videos, intimate interaction photos, real-time positioning records of cross-border meetings. 40 seconds later, the seventh core truth burst out.